We're on a mission to find the greatest allotment site in Britain. We've travelled the length and breadth of the country to find Britain's greenest gardeners, tastiest produce and most inspiring community projects. And when our journey is complete, the most outstanding site will be named the Digging for Victory Champion. Welcome to Digging for Victory. Today we've crossed the Severn Bridge into Wales to visit the South Rise allotments in Cardiff, where 100 plot holders are digging deep in their bid to reach the grand finale. And if they do, they'll have the chance to become Digging Victory champions and win a prize worth £2,000. With over 10,000 allotment sites in Britain, South Rise has done exceptionally well to get to the final stages of this competition. They are one of just 9 sites who were selected by a team of experts for their outstanding gardening practice and superb community relations. But only one can become the Digging for Victory champion, and across this series, I'm visiting each of the 9 nominated sites to try and choose a winner. Helping me with this difficult task is allotment expert Hannah Genders. Hannah is a respected garden designer with 2 medals from the Chelsea Flower Show to her name, and she can attribute much of her success to an allotment plot in Birmingham where her gardening career began. Now, we've decided to judge the sites in the spring when there'll be a hive of planting activity, and Hannah and I can clearly see their horticultural practices in action. Using a strict set of criteria, we'll be awarding points for produce, eco-friendliness, community relations and visual impact. Well, South Rise, we're out in the countryside here, aren't we, Hannah?
We certainly are. It's very green all the way around the edge. You've got these big areas of grass.
That's right, the birds are singing, the woodlands are there. I feel like I've left the city, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But the first thing that really hits me is obviously this very heavy soil,
Clay soil, very heavy clay. I mean, look at this.
You know, this is the hardest soil for a gardener to work on, and this is a good example of what happens if you don't work it over the winter.
Yeah.
It just forms these big clods, cracks up, and that is quite difficult.
But if you do work it, it can be an excellent soil because, of course, it holds its nutrients, unlike the other stuff we've seen.
That's right, no leaching, that's right. See, it won't leach, so all the nutrient stays in it.
Yeah.
And here you can see
look at this.
This is what happens when you work it. Lovely, friable, beautiful soil.
Absolutely fantastic. And you see the colour of that is so much better because you've got the organic matter in it.
Quite good first impressions then?
Oh, it's a really smart site, isn't it?
In today's programme, Hannah and I will be touring the South Rise allotment site and talking climate change with a seasoned weatherman. We'll also be finding out that when it comes to digging for victory, mum's the word. And Hannah will be investigating the mysterious loss of last year's leek crop. But first things first, Hannah and I catch up with South Rise's chairman Brian and his wife Liz as they spruce up the site's impressive communal building. This is looking very industrious. Got time for a stop, yeah?
Yeah, it's very dry though, desperate.
Very neat and tidy site that you've got here, first impressions. And we're also amazed at how green it is. I mean, how far are you from Cardiff?
We're about 4 miles from the centre of Cardiff as the crow flies. But I'm surprised you're saying it's green because it's been so dry in the last fortnight that, we're having to water things like crazy already, which is crazy for this time.
Yeah, it's been a little bit dry, but the backdrop of the woodland and stuff, it makes you feel like you're almost out in the countryside, doesn't it?
It's very rural. Birds singing away like crazy.
Obviously, you're the man to ask about this. Do the weather climate here affect your growing conditions?
It does, especially as we've got such a heavy clay soil in most of the... If it dries very quickly, as it has done, you tend to get a crust on the top.
I've seen this with a cracking as well, and which must make life a bit tricky.
You try and plant seeds in that, and they just don't push through. It's like hitting their heads on a layer of concrete.
Sure. So you think if the climate keeps changing, you'll be able to grow even more exotic species here?
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking sort of bananas or melons.
Yeah, that'd be good to see. Yeah, I hope so. Maybe we've got such a massive variety of plants we can grow in the future. That's all the best, isn't it?
Yeah. And you're a very green site. We noticed quite a lot of land at the sort of edges there. Can you take up any of that land for some of the plot holders that are waiting, or?
No, unfortunately not. The green area is covering a culvert, which we can't cultivate.
Right.
So we are full, unfortunately.
So you're saying you can't expand the allotments anymore? Culverts, are they sort of underground structures?
Yeah, so it's a big water pipe.
Right.
Between us and the boundary fence, and it means we've got 2 acres of grass, which we have to cut.
That's a lot of mowing.
It is an awful lot of mowing.
Yeah.
Well, Brian and the South Rise team can certainly feel proud of their well-kept site and their success at reaching this stage of the competition. The selection process began last winter as applications flooded in from sites around the country. Representatives from the National Allotments and Gardens Trust and the National Society of Allotment and Leisure Gardeners were called in to help, and using their expertise, they nominated the 9 strongest sites. But now it's down to Hannah and me. We must visit each of the nominated sites and score them in 4 main categories: produce, eco-friendliness, community relations, and visual impact. And when judging is complete, the 3 highest rated sites will go forward to our series finale. Each of our nominated sites has received a selection of gardening goodies worth 500 quid, just for reaching this stage of the competition. But the Digging for Victory champions will win a prize of £2,000 worth of vouchers for their site. In the last 50 years, allotments have been going slowly into decline, but with renewed interest from families, more and more women are taking up plots. In Cardiff, many of these newcomers are mums, like Jayesh, who has 4 hungry mouths to feed. Just 3 years ago, there were vacant plots at South Rise, but now there's a waiting list of 20. And the number of women running plots has more than doubled in that time. One of them is mother of 4, Jayesh.
I share this plot with my neighbour and friend who lives across the road, and she's got 3 children. So between us, we try and work it together. We took on our first plot. We both suddenly found that we were both pregnant. We did get a lot of help and a lot of advice. I think people found it quite amusing that there were 2 rather large women working the plot. They were very, very helpful. I think I was up there until a week before I had Ivan. So I was, up digging away until the very last minute. So there were lots of jokes about whether I was going to end up having the baby under a bush nearby and which bush I was going to choose. The children love coming up to the allotment. They love the fact that we're growing our own vegetables. They love seeing the vegetables growing. They love picking them and eating them. For the most part, they like helping. I think, occasionally they come up and they moan and groan, but mostly they like to help, and they're very good, really.
Sharing a plot presents its own unique challenges. Kate and Jayesh have to decide how they will divide the work on their plot, and most importantly, what to grow.
We try and share the work between us. We sort of share the cost of the seeds and everything that we need to plant between us. And then when it actually comes to harvesting, we share the crop as well. There are things that she likes. For example, she likes broad beans and I'm not that keen, but we'll agree that we'll grow broad beans and, and then we'll grow something that I like.
On all allotments, pigeons seem to be the public enemy number 1. The Asbo breakers of the animal kingdom have recently been active on Jayesh and Kate's plot.
I've just been putting a few of the cloves back in the ground because they've been pulled up by the pigeons. As soon as the birds see a little green shoot, they like to come and pull it up. Garlic's great because you can just stick it straight in. If you even have a piece of garlic at home that's just got a little green sprout on it, you can just stick that straight in the ground and it'll grow. Also, I have read that if you use your own garlic that you've grown the year before and you keep repeatedly reusing your own garlic that's sprouted, it'll develop resistance to any problems that you have in your own particular soil. If we were to plant rows in between, say, our lettuce or with our carrots, it would hopefully keep a few of the bugs and slugs and things away from them as well. So you can use it as a companion plant.
By taking on her plot, Jayesh has been able to keep up a family tradition.
When I grew up, my parents always had a sort of vegetable plot. I've always enjoyed the taste of vegetables and I am a vegetarian. I was quite keen to get my own plot and grow my own vegetables. I was also very keen that our children should grow up knowing where vegetables come from and how they grow and what they look like when they come straight out of the ground, and not just seeing things that are ready chopped. We know what we're growing and we know what we're putting on the soil, so I think you then feel more comfortable about what you're eating. The children can come up here and run around and get some fresh air, and that's good as well, and it's sometimes nice to leave the children behind and come up on our own and escape from the children as well.
It's 2 months since we met Jayesh, and today both she and Kate are on site with the kids, but their husbands are nowhere to be seen. So, where are the geezers?
We don't really want them up here. They just mess everything up, don't they?
They don't do it.
No.
Just stay out the way, it's just easier, yeah?
Yeah.
And do the kids get into it as well? Do they get into the actual gardening side? You get watering, all that kind of thing?
Yes, they do.
They like digging, but they tend to dig
Big holes.
big holes.
Australia.
I can empathise with that. I like digging big holes. Yeah, I do. I have a thing for it as well.
Eating more veg.
Yes, they like eating the veg.
Pumpkins. So we grew pumpkins for Halloween last year.
So they enjoy that. And the things that they can kind of pick and eat, peas.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to grow the stuff that you want to eat, so you should do that with kids.
And they like coming up and actually picking it off themselves and then eating it straight away.
Yeah.
And lettuce and spring onions and all that sort of thing. So yeah, they do actually. They like to come up. They get in the way sometimes, but generally they're pretty good.
And at least they know what chips are made of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's that old fact, isn't it? I've been doing
And
some
where
stuff
carrots
working
come
in schools, and they said like 6 out of 10 kids thought potato grew on trees. So it's obviously you're pioneering the fact that kids won't think that way. Hopefully in a decade's time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the carrots don't come sliced up in a little bag. From Marks and Spencer's or Sainsbury's or whatever.
By sharing a plot, JS and Kate have managed to make their allotment a success. There are over 50 plots to judge here at South Rise, although we can't help thinking there's room for quite a few more, despite the water pipe issue at the bottom of the site. On the plus side, some of the plots are amazing. So, Hannah, what do you think? Thoughts so far?
Well, I think it's an incredibly tidy site, isn't it, really? And, you know, very good for wildlife on the edges. What about you, Chris? What are you thinking?
Well, I reckon, as you can see, the difference between the plots, you know, and maybe I can't help feeling maybe it's a little bit competitive here.
Yeah, I think so. And there isn't a sense that everybody's pulling together like we've experienced so far. And community's a key thing for us.
It's one of the things we're marking on, and we like to see people joining and helping each other out. But moving on to some things like produce, this is a brilliant little idea here.
Well, look at this. I mean, this is a perfect idea. If you've only got a tiny plot.
Yeah, which a lot of people have in cities, that kind of, you know, a lot of people, not everyone's got access to a big bit of land.
Yeah. Then you can do so much in a small space. I mean, you've got radishes here.
Some garlic.
And the other thing you could do, I mean, in a space this size, say if you put potatoes underneath, you can do what's called catch cropping.
Yep.
So you could grow all your radishes and you could harvest all those before the potatoes even came up.
Right, so you actually dual cropping them. Yeah, that's what catch cropping is.
Yeah, one crop underneath, one crop
on top. And that's another way of really utilising a small area like this.
Well, even if you didn't have a plot this size and you only had a balcony, you could grow those lovely cut and come again lettuces in a pot.
In a pot, so you can actually contain a garden for veg as well. Yeah, maybe you got tomatoes in a hanging basket, something like that.
Anything like that.
So it's quite
just
good.
Get out there and have a go.
Sure, it's quite good to see that in a mini scale like this you can do this sort.
You can really do loads of stuff. I mean, but it's just amazing, this plot, isn't it? You can't believe it.
It's incredible. If we were at a show, it'd probably win medals, wouldn't it?
It would.
It's great to see such beautifully kept plots, but it's the site as a whole that we're judging, so it's touch and go as to whether South Rise will make it into the Digging for Victory grand finale. Welcome back to Cardiff, where nominated allotment site South Rise are vying for a place in our grand finale and the chance to become Digging for Victory champions. Now, can you imagine anything worse on a Welsh site than losing an entire crop of leeks? Well, sadly, that's what happened here at South Rise last year, and Hannah has caught up with plot holder Ernest to find out exactly what happened.
So, Ernest, this is where the leeks were on your plot. So what happened with them?
Well, I went on holiday, obviously planted them in good condition, and came back and found that they'd literally fallen into the centres. The centres seemed to have been eaten out, and my first reaction was that perhaps it was rabbits which we have around here. And on looking closer, you could see that there was actually mulch in the centre of the leeks.
So they'd almost sort of rotted out in the middle?
They'd rotted into the centre, and then the leaves had just fallen out.
What on earth do you do when you have a problem like that you don't understand what's happening?
Well, the first thing, I think, was panic.
Yes.
And actually take them all out of the soil.
Absolutely, because it
was quite obvious.
The soil.
Yes, it was quite obvious when you looked closely that they weren't actually eaten or not eaten by an animal. It was obviously some kind of a bug of some sort.
But you're a brave man, because I can see that you are starting again with these little seedlings.
Those are leeks in their very early stages. You can see the seed.
Yeah, it carries the seed up there. Isn't that lovely, the way it does that? Yeah.
And then eventually this will obviously grow into 2 leaves.
Yeah.
And then transplant them, allow them perhaps another month, and then plant them out again.
So these actually won't be ready until next winter. You'll be planting them later.
I'll be planting these in the beginning of June, and then we'll be eating these from November onwards.
These days, everybody's talking about climate change. But just how does global warming affect the nation's allotment holders? Well, for the past 2 decades, South Rise's resident meteorologist, Brian, has been keeping daily records on the weather. And St David's Day this year was no exception. It's early spring at South Rise, the Prince of Wales crest has taken shape and the first daffodils are making an appearance. But Tenant and Society Secretary Brian Curley is not on site. That's because it's 0900 hours and Brian has a daily duty to perform at home.
9 o'clock GMT is the standard time for reading thermometers.
Brian reads the temperature from his Stevenson screen daily, and his personal records go back to the beginning of his career.
I was in the Met Office for 33 years before I retired, and once you're a Met man, you're always a Met man. You just can't give it up. You keep your own measurements, and you keep an eye on the weather. It is very useful. Well, the reading this morning, 7.1. Still fairly mild. Maximum yesterday was 11.8, another mild day. It's been a very mild winter. Things are changing, I think. We certainly had a very hot summer last year. As things change, I'm sure we're going to have to change with it. Butternut squashes last year, we had a tremendous crop, and other things didn't do so well.
Brian doesn't only keep an eye on the weather, he has to watch out for the site vandals. They have a fondness for his brassicas, but Brian's keeping one step ahead.
This is kale red boar, which is the only brassica I know which is absolutely guaranteed pigeon-proof. The pigeons don't actually recognise this as a cabbage, and they leave it alone. So here we are in March, and we've still got kale that we can pick for use at home in the kitchen. Marvellous.
It's not just pigeons that are proving troublesome. Brian is struggling to keep his head above water.
We've got the best part of an inch there, and we've had a very wet winter. You can see we've got standing water all around the plot. Wet soil takes much longer to warm up than dry soil, so I don't think I'll be doing very much on this plot for a couple of weeks at least. If I am down here and working and keeping half an eye on the weather, which I always do, I mean, it's second nature to do that. If the other plot holders see me running, then they run as well, because they know that there's a shower coming. There are some very weather-sensitive activities on an allotment plot. Lifting your onions, if you want them to be really dry and to keep really well, then there's an optimum day on which you lift them. It's the day I lift mine. If other plot holders are wise, they lift theirs on the same day. I've still got onions in the garage now that have kept right through the winter.
Although it's been a washout year so far, Brian has one unusual plant that is standing up well to the recent weather conditions.
This is a Josterbury. It's fairly tolerant of all conditions, actually. I don't think there's much that'll damage it during the course of the summer. Fat buds on it already, which is a sure sign that it's been a mild winter. Josterbury is a very vigorous grower. I think I'll have to take some of these high bits out later in the year, otherwise it'll be pushing up through the nets. Nets are absolutely vital because not only do we love them, but the blackbirds and the pigeons, they're also great fans of Josterbury.
It's now late spring, and Brian's Josterbury is coming along rather well. So, Brian, this is the famous Josterbury. Tell me about this.
Yes, well, Josterbury is a cross between blackcurrant and gooseberry.
Right.
It has the characteristics of both in some respects, in that it looks like a girt big blackcurrant.
The big question is what does it taste like?
Well, I just so happen to have here a jar of the wife's Josterbury jam, which she made last year, which you're very welcome to taste.
That sounds good to
great.
me. Very good.
No, that's lovely.
Quite strong, isn't it?
Mm.
It is. Yes.
Quite nice, very nice. That would be good on a crumpet, that would.
And Brian, when we last saw your plot 2 months ago, it was covered in water. So what's it like now?
Well, it is a very wet part of the site. There's a spring that rises here.
Do you have a look?
But yeah, on this corner of the plot, I had standing water right through the winter.
Yeah.
So it's actually surface water then?
The groundwater comes up to the surface, and you've got standing water all around these edges. It's dried up in the last 3 weeks because we've had next to no rain at all. But the trouble is, it dries out and you get this hard crust, which is
really hard to work, isn't it?
Very hard.
And do you add lots of compost into this throughout the winter?
Yes. You can see how much it's been banked up over the course of the years.
Yeah.
You'd appreciate some rain. That would help.
The little seedlings are going to need watering, otherwise they're just not going to germinate.
It's a vulnerable time, isn't it, for plants, because they're just coming into the new season.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, we'll just have to pray to the gods, I suppose, eh? For hardy allotmenteers like Brian, adverse weather conditions are par for the course. But don't let that deter you if you're thinking of taking on a plot. Believe it or not, there are over 500,000 allotment plots in the UK, and an alarming number of them are unoccupied. In big cities, many allotment sites have waiting lists, but elsewhere in the country there are plenty of plots going spare. With the average plot costing just 25 quid a year in rent, growing your own food could save you a fortune. And what's more, you'll have peace of mind knowing exactly where your food came from. Here at South Rise Allotment in Cardiff, our day of judging is almost at an end, so Hannah and I must compare notes and give scores in each of the 4 main categories: produce, eco-friendliness, community relations and visual impact. Well, produce, this is where we start, isn't it? I think, well, certainly the preserves tasted quite good.
Yeah, they were excellent, weren't they?
I didn't do too bad on that, I don't think.
Yeah. Now, eco-friendliness, now this is a difficult one.
It's a bit of a mixed bag, I think, isn't it, really?
It is a mixed bag, because, I mean, this morning we saw a song thrush.
Yep.
So you'd want to be absolutely sure nobody's using any slug pellets on the site.
Sure, yeah. And obviously water being collected and used efficiently. I think that's a down score, isn't it, really?
It's a bit of a down score.
Well, visual impact. On first impressions, the whole site is very neat and tidy.
Very neat and tidy, and a lovely sort of central shed. And
There is some argument for the land could be better used, basically, and how effective it is, yeah.
Yeah. But on the whole, it scores. I think most of the sites we're going to see are actually going to score highly in this area.
Because the amount of love and care that go into them. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
It's been a hard day's judging here in Cardiff, and we can't reveal any of the scores until we've visited each of the other nominated sites. But if South Rise makes the cut, we'll be seeing them again in our grand finale. Well, thank you, Brian, and South Rise Allotments. We've had a great day, haven't we, Hannah?
We've had a great day. We've got a beautiful site here with all the wildlife and the surrounding area. It's superb. And I know quite a few of you have had problems with your leaks, so we really wish you a good year next year with your leak, especially in Wales. You're the only Welsh one we visit.
That's a good expression. We hope you have a good leak year. Right, that's a good one, yeah. Well, obviously, we've been here as judges, and we can't tell you how we found it yet, because we've got other sites to look at, but best of luck, and hopefully we'll see you again some other day, eh?
Yeah.
So will South Rise make it through to our grand finale? Or they'll be pipped at the post by another nominated allotment site? To find out, keep watching Digging for Victory.